If you have been following me for a while, you know that real-time strategy games are one of my favorite genres. I have loved them since the original Command & Conquer, and finding new ones to explore is always fun. This week, my channel backers gave me such an opportunity with Warlocked, an RTS game for the Game Boy Color. While primitive, it is a full-fledged RTS that proved to be far more fun than I thought it could be. The time for war has come between the human and beast factions. Building up their armies, both sides are ready for the fight ahead. The story of Warlock is set up in the introduction that plays when first powering on the game. Briefings precede each mission, setting up story elements and objectives to complete. Upon finishing either campaign, you are given an epilogue and cutscenes before the credits roll. The story is pretty standard, but it serves its purpose of keeping you invested. Being a Game Boy Color game, you wouldn't expect Warlocked to be a full-fledged RTS game, but it is. Every core element that makes up an RTS is here. You use workers to gather resources and build and repair structures. You can train units to fight the opposing faction with full movement, area guarding, and grouping support. Your vision is also initially limited by a fog of war. Numerous hero units are also included with unique abilities and army buffs. The scope is limited by the Game Boy Color hardware in many regards, but what is here is seriously impressive. Each faction has 13 missions that ease you into the flow of gameplay. The first missions do a good job of teaching you how to gather resources with your workers and build your supporting structures. Resources are divided between fuel and gold. Fuel can be anything from trees and rocks to mushrooms, depending on the level. Your workers will typically move well between close plots of fuel, but at times you may need to manually reassign them. Gold is found in dedicated mines, with most maps having one or two available. Upon depletion, the mine explodes, which I find incredibly funny. As for building, there are only 3 types of structures available in Warlocked: farms, guard towers, and barracks. Farms give you additional unit supply, which is needed to build up larger forces. Each farm provides enough supply for 5 units. Depending on the mission, you may need to build more farms right from the start to do anything. Guard towers are self-explanatory. They guard the location where they are built. They have a decent range and can hit units on higher terrain. The barracks are where you train your troops, and building multiple allows for more units to be trained at a time. Units in Warlock are fairly limited, with only a basic foot soldier and archer being available to both factions from the barracks. You can choose to build either by pressing the A or B buttons, which is quite intuitive given the hardware. Once you have your units made, you can select them by pressing A or holding A to drag a selection cursor to grab many at once. Grouping is done by using select plus A or B, giving you 2 hotkeys to work with. I didn't realize this was a thing until after beating the game, sadly, as it would have greatly helped in many missions. About halfway through each campaign, you are introduced to dragons. Dragons act as a siege-type unit with slightly better range than an archer and a ton more damage output, with their only weakness being arrows. They also fly, which lets them go over any type of terrain. To add a dragon to your forces, you must find a dragon egg within a level and hatch it by walking troops around it. After hatching, you will send it to your town center, where it will grow into its adult form after a few seconds. You can only have 1 dragon at a time, making them strategic resources. Having to deal with them on the opposing team can also be scary at times, which adds a nice wrinkle in the typical combat loop. To further add variety to your unit count are several unlockable wizards that can be found within most levels. By rescuing a wizard, you can summon them in later levels to help you with their unique abilities. Some wizards can also provide nice buffs, such as doubling the health of your guard towers. A single wizard can change the outcome of an entire level if used correctly, which is pretty cool to see in a game pre-Warcraft 3. Wizards are extremely limited, and if one dies in a level, you lose them for good. The types of wizards you unlock through your playthrough are random, so you unfortunately can't get them all in a single playthrough. Instead, Warlocked has a trade system for you to trade wizards between multiple copies of the game. Thanks, Pokemon, for that being a thing. But combat works as expected. When you tell your selected armies to attack, they attack. Units and structures have decent health, so nothing feels like a damage sponge. Missions are typically won or lost by taking out the opponent's structures or losing your own, but at times you may need to kill certain units or bring a wizard back to your base. It can be a bit repetitive, but the difficulty spikes and the joy of blowing up enemy buildings kept me invested. Some missions have limited resources or units to further challenge you, which aren't my favorite in an RTS, but they worked out okay here. Multiple multiplayer modes are also included for playing against a friend in standard matches or a unit battle that works differently from the standard game. You make armies based on your remaining units from the campaign, and each gets a different element for rock, paper, scissors combat mechanics. It sounds strange, but I probably would have loved it if I'd played this back at release. A few mini-games like a slide puzzle and poker are also unlocked through your campaign playthroughs. Warlocked has okay audio work to go along with its gameplay. Music is a surprise with some fun 8-bit tunes to accompany your conquest. It can get a bit repetitive as the mission goes on, but it never became a sour spot for my playthrough. Sound effects are a bit lacking, but the dings of attacks are pretty fun to listen to. Warlocked even makes use of a few digitized voice lines for unit confirmations of movement and attacks. They are heavily compressed, but they are a fun addition nonetheless. The sprite work in Warlocked is nice to look at as you play. Units have some good details on them to make them distinct, and structures look great in each of the game's environments. Multiple biomes being present in the game was a pleasant surprise given the hardware. The fact that structures change appearance based on the biome is also a cool touch. Both factions having a unique look is also greatly appreciated. Wizards get a bit repetitive, with many looking similar for their overworld appearances. Each has a nice full-screen pixel art depiction that is fun to look at. Dragons, unfortunately, get very little variation outside of color between factions. The text and art for mission briefings are also clear to read, and the scroll gives it an appropriate theme. Best of all, the game runs pretty well throughout a playthrough. It isn't ever fast, but it stays consistent even with multiple units in play. It does start to slow down as you build out massive armies, but I never hit a point where it became unplayable. Let's also give a shout out to the awesome Fog of War tiles. Love it! My biggest issue as I played through Warlocked is the awful unit pathing. It is basically non-existent and plagues every mission. As you begin to add towers to defensible positions, it just gets worse to get your units around them. Also, don't build anything between your workers' mining spots and the town hall, as you will certainly get frustrated watching them get lost trying to deliver vital supplies. Later levels introduce several walls you have to navigate between, which again makes pathing a nightmare for your attacks. Unless you are already enjoying your time with the game, this could be a potential deal breaker for many. My second issue came from the limited selection ring when you want to select multiple units. It doesn't go far from the center of where you started, so you can often miss selecting all of your troops for an attack. Unit slowdown can also begin to happen with massive armies, but this was only a minor annoyance for me. Opponent AI is also nothing special, making most missions fairly easy to beat overall. The levels where they focused on offense were the best of the game as a result. Beating both campaigns can provide you with around 10 hours of playtime with Warlocked. If you wish to replay them, you can, but multiplayer is where most of the replay value in this game will come from. With 2 modes, this can provide any number of hours of entertainment if you have a friend who enjoys classic RTS games on a handheld. Although these days the game is expensive, and it may be hard to find somebody who already owns it as well as a Game Boy Color, so multiplayer isn't as accessible as it once was. If you love classic RTS and think a Warcraft Lite on a Game Boy Color sounds neat, Warlocked is the game for you. It is simplistic yet deep in many regards and can provide hours of entertainment. Unit pathing sucks, so you will have to micromanage it at times, but I am seriously impressed that Warlocked runs on the Game Boy Color at all. Outside of Pokemon, this is now easily one of my favorite games for the system. Thank you for making it to the end of today's review on Warlocked, a surprising game to see running on a Game Boy Color, a full-blown RTS for the system. While limited in scope, still really impressive to see this, and I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, a lot of that comes from enjoying the genre and just being able to appreciate it for what it is on the hardware that it's on. Like, yes, it's not the best RTS that's ever been made. No one's saying it is, but it's really cool to see it, and again, I really enjoyed my time with it. But yeah, thank you backers for having me check this one out. Like, very surprising, and I found a new game on Game Boy Color that I can pull up and enjoy. But thank you again for watching today's review. It means the world to me that you spend even 1 minute of time on this channel. So just a few favors here at the end if you haven't already. Thumbs up, thumbs down, depending on how much you like this video, as well as hitting that sub button notification bell so you can see when new videos go live on the channel, as there's always more coming your way. And then if you would like to further help support the channel, please be sure to hit that join button here on YouTube or check out the Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, as every little bit helps keeps us going, and you get to participate in these weekly retro review votes. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you all back next video.